many more bones will you crush? How many lives will you destroy in pursuit of what you call justice? You are the product of everything you fear.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Devin coming back at you with another video today on PubStomp MTG, and in today's video I'm going to go over the Rendmaw Creaking Nest. And this is not going to be a pre-con upgrade video. I've noticed a little while ago that my pre-con upgrades haven't been getting as much views, so I may stop those. Let me know down below in the comments if you'd still like to see them. I just haven't seen much progress with them. So instead of focusing on a pre-con upgrade, I'm going to focus on building around one of the commanders of the deck. And so Rendmaw the Creaking Nest is one amazing commander that I wanted to focus on today. So let's read what it does. So for 3 black and a green legendary artifact creature Scarecrow, it does have menace and reach, and when it does enter the battlefield and whenever you play a card with 2 more card types, each player creates a tapped 2/2 black bird creature token with flying. The tokens are goaded for the rest of the game, so basically they attack each combat if able and attack a player other than you if able. So that does mean if you enter the battlefield with Rendmaw, you're going to be making a token yourself. It is going to be goaded. You technically have to swing it at another person too. But as far as flavor goes, this is absolutely incredible. I feel like this is one of the funniest things I've seen in a while, at least in Duskmourn specifically, because obviously it's a reference to crows running around while there's a big giant scarecrow that's scaring them away. So the flavor fits. This is a pretty good commander, and let's get started. Let's talk about the deck. There are so many card types that you could take advantage of in Magic the Gathering, especially being in Golgari colors. What comes to mind is the artifact lands like Tree of Tales and Vault of Whispers. Obviously these are great includes because they're just lands that you could play, you get to trigger your commander. The same can be said for like Dryad Arbor and Valgavoth's Lair, where they have the 2 different types. The only downside to these lands, if I could say one, is the fact that they can feed a dockside because they do count towards a dockside count. Plus, not to mention that they are susceptible to artifact and enchantment removal. Besides that point, you're going to be making a lot of birds just for free value just by playing lands, so what's better than that? With lands comes ramp, and there's plenty of ramp because of course we are in green color combination. We could absolutely utilize some cards like Dryad of the Elysian Grove and Overlord of the Hauntwoods. They count as enchantment creatures. Dryad will give you the extra land drops, and of course if you have those lands that are different types, that'll be more of the benefit. And Overlord of the Hauntwoods is another excellent choice, giving you a land that could tap for any color, especially if you pay that impending cost early on. And when we're playing all those different cards with 2 different types, we're going to be making a lot of different birds on the battlefield, so why not use Enduring Vitality just to get more mana? Creatures you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Even though the birds we are making are going to enter the battlefield tapped, that's still going to be fine because later on we could use them for mana rocks essentially, and plus Enduring Vitality will count for that, and if it does die we could just return it back to the battlefield just as an enchantment itself. Some more ramp options I could think about are the Mirrors, the ones that tap for mana, and Ornithopter of Paradise. These are artifact creatures, so that'll count with our commander too. And there's a specific reason why I want to add so much ramp into this deck. We want to cast more and more spells with 2 different types, and these will just ensure the way where we could ramp and also cast more spells, make more creatures on the battlefield, and have all those birds swinging at everybody else while we're just kind of chilling back in the background. So now that I've talked about ramp, I want to focus on the heavy hitters of the deck. There's a lot of great powerful creatures that do have more than one type that we could take advantage of. The first one I did think about is Roaming Throne, just doubling our commander's ability of making more birds on the battlefield when we cast those spells. Plus, not to mention, Roaming Throne does have the dual type of artifact creature, so we could trigger a commander on top of that. So instead of making 1 2/2 bird for each opponent and ourselves, we're going to be making 2 instead. And the same could be actually said for Primal Vigor. This is absolutely essential in the deck. If there's any card that I would recommend putting in this deck, this would be it, because if 1 or more tokens would be put onto the battlefield, twice that many of the tokens would be put onto the battlefield instead. Notice that it doesn't signify just you, it actually signifies everybody else. So instead of making 1 2/2 bird, we're going to be making 2 on each opponent's battlefield and our own battlefield. Another card that will be excellent in the deck, even though it doesn't have more than 1 type, is Calculating Lich. Even though it is 6 mana, again, remember we're ramping a lot, so this is going to be pretty easy to get to. Whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents, that player loses 1 life. Of course, because the birds are goaded on the battlefield, they do have to attack, and that player will lose 1 life. Typically, in games of Magic the Gathering, it's pretty hard to eventually just make the game go by fast, and this is just one way to really amplify the life loss, so that way it could go by quicker. And I wanted to bring up another fun fun, flavorful card, even though again it doesn't have the 2 typings, is Revenge of the Ravens. Obviously this is just a flavor win, because this is literally what our opponents are going to be doing to each other. They're attacking each other, and if they dare to attack us, we have that option of gaining 1 life and they lose 1 life. Even though those birds aren't going to attack us necessarily, our opponents may have some other creatures on the battlefield that they might swing at us, because of course we are making goated creatures that are attacking each other. They might be mad, so let's make sure we could kind of disincentivize them not to attack us. But let's go back to some more cards that have 2 or more typing. Demolisher Spawn, which is in the precon, is an excellent choice. When it does attack, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, other attacking creatures get +4/+4 until end of turn. So when we have our Raven army in the air, instead of having them being little 2/2s that are swinging at our opponents, they could become 6/6s when this attacks. Plus, I just have to comment on how freaky this art looks. It looks like a mix between a crocodile, a dinosaur, and some kind of fungal crazy monster, which I'm all for. But let's move on to another enchantment creature, because there's going to be a lot of enchantment creatures in this deck. Specifically, Demon of Face Design is going to help us cast those spells for free, or should I say with the paying life cost. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an enchantment spell by paying life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. So if we wanted to play a Demolisher Spawn for 7 mana, instead of paying that mana cost, we could just pay 7 life. And in a game of Commander, that's not so bad, especially if we have some life gain in our deck specifically. Plus, this is just a big beater in the air. Sacrifice another enchantment. Demon of Face Design gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is sacrifice enchantment's mana value. There are a lot of big beefy enchantment creatures that you could absolutely take advantage of, because again, remember, we're ramping a lot, so we might as well put them on the battlefield, like Arvinox the Mind Flail, Nyx Bloom Ancient, which is going to triple our mana, and Nyxborn Behemoth, which is just another big giant beater that can be reduced based off the amount of enchantments you control. So again, there's so much good options that you could take advantage of that is honestly going to help you end the game pretty quickly. But the main goal is to attack with all our birds so that we could win the game. There are so many options that we can choose from, especially with overrun abilities. And so the first one I thought about was Adaptive Automation. This has the great ability of entering the battlefield, choose a creature type. In this situation, I would actually choose birds. Other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1, since we're making 2/2 birds on the battlefield. This is just one way we could buff up our birds and go in for serious damage. I previously mentioned Primal Vigor, but also throw in Parallel Lives, because this is another token doubler on our side of the battlefield only. But just increasing the amount of birds we do have on the battlefield is going to be critical. And the reason why it's so critical is so that we can get card advantage from Oberon Frostfang and Toski Bearer Secrets. You can also throw in Gix, Yawgmoth Praetor, but your opponents are going to draw cards off those birds, so I wouldn't recommend it so much. You're more than welcome to throw it in, but these each have the ability whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. So all those birds we do make, if they swing in the air uncontested, hey, look at us, we get to draw some more cards. Speaking of card advantage, let's talk about Return of the Wild Speaker. This could be great card advantage for us. Also, it can be a great overrun ability. You draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. That's pretty good. Or if we have an ability to close out the game, non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. We could use this as a combat trick to quickly close out the game in that aspect. Another fun and pretty disgusting way of winning the game is by using Massacre Worm, because our opponents are making 2/2s on the battlefield. When it does enter the battlefield, each creature opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. This is going to be absolutely critical, especially in the late stage of game, where our opponents may have a lot of creatures on the battlefield that are 2/2s because we're giving them a lot of birds. We could quickly end their sorrows by playing Massacre Worm, killing a lot of birds, and also making players lose 2 life in the process. So with that said, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video. I know this was a little bit shorter. I wanted to focus on some synergies with our commander. Of course, you can check out the deck list down below in the description if you wanted more insight into some cards to add into the list. These are just some synergies that I noticed that would be perfect for the deck specifically and help your game plan out. But I would like to hear your thoughts. What are your thoughts and opinions about this commander? Do you plan on playing it yourself? What other cards are you interested adding into the 99 for this specific deck? Again, I would love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you can, check out my Patreon, as there's a lot of great benefits in signing up, but you don't have to go that far. If you can subscribe to the channel, that definitely goes a long way in supporting the channel. And with that out of the way, thank you for stomping by.